What's your go-to scanner these days?
Literally all day long question, right? So the first thing I like to establish is there's no such thing as the most accurate scanner.
They're all good.
They can all suck and they
Oh,
can
I
all
see.
be good. You have to know how to use it. Okay. The main thing is when you're scanning a flat surface, it gets very confused. Like when I scan this area here, forget the colors and everything, it's just a flat, redundant, symmetric surface. If I go and continue scan here, the scanner gets confused, puts data from here over here, mixes up the data and we call it the Viersing effect. Takes data where it doesn't belong and puts it over here. So you need as much disruption to that flat anatomy as possible, which is generally teeth. So
Right.
that's why teeth are easy to scan. Edentulous ridges and dentures
They're
are
difficult.
not. They're more tricky. Keeping it very, very simple.
Interesting.
So you have to know where the errors are, just like you have to know if you don't have the right supports for your printer, that stent's not going to be, the liner's not going to fit, or the retainer's not going to fit. So you have to know where the errors are. So every scanner, doesn't matter how well it's researched, whatever the article says, the very next scan you do can be wrong and your restoration might not fit. So who cares if it's the best scanner, right? So that's number one. There's no such thing as the most accurate scanner. For sure, we have trained thousands upon thousands. I mean, if you could go back to the CIREC years, tens of thousands of doctors I've seen in over 20 years. No, I've never seen any new user who's never scanned before pick up that Trios scanner and scan as readily and as easily as they do. A brand new user. So if you're a doc, you have 4 or 5 assistants, they are going to be scanning for you. He or she's going to be scanning for you. Trios is my recommendation because you don't want to sit there and teach every one of them. I can show every other scanner how to get to that level of performance, but it's much more of an effort, much more of a learning curve. So for sure, the easiest to implement is the Trios. Okay. So and then to answer which one's my favorite, I mean, I'm constantly testing. When I do crown now, I scan it 4 or 5 different ways.
I
I
see.
print it, I mill it, I take X-rays. It takes me 3 hours to do a crown because I'm always testing and stuff. I got to make sure it's viable. So I don't have a straight answer about which one's my favorite. Which one do I recommend? If you're going to be delegating, you want the easiest learning curve.
That's Trios.
Trios, $10,000-$15,000 difference. You decide what you want to do, and you'll be shocked at how many people say, "I want the premium experience. I want to have that whole experience," and they go with that. And there's definitely some. I was there early in my career. Every dollar counts.
Yeah,
You know, you're not
exactly.
going to take a big bite. You know what? I'm not as busy as an established doctor. He or she's cranking. You know, I've got a 2-hour opening between my patients. I'm new. I'm a startup, which was my case when I started. Then what was I going to say? Then they have the time to learn how to use a scanner. There's dirt cheap scanners coming from China. They can all work, especially in the posterior. The anterior is more tricky. They have enamel.
Right,
There's a
right,
lot of
right.
refraction, reflection. There's anterior is way more tricky. But if you're just doing posterior dentistry, which is the vast majority, you know this very well from the line of work you're in. But if you're doing vast majority of your work in the posterior, it's quadrant dentistry. I can make any scanner work.
You can go cheap on that.
Yeah.